All right. Welcome back, guys. This is Off the Edge, and we are here on Bleacher Report. We are going to be talking about the blockbuster trades that should have happened. We'll start off the show, Cam, talking about the trades that did happen. The Giants traded for Leonard Williams from the Seahawks. The Commanders traded Montez Sweat to the Bears.
Good
They
move.
also traded, Chase Young to the Niners. The Vikings trade Ezra Cleveland to the Jaguars. The Cardinals traded Josh Dobbs to the Vikings. The Browns traded Donovan Peoples-Jones to the Lions. And the Packers traded Rasul Douglas to the Bills. Out of those players, guys that we mentioned that could get traded repeatedly, Chase Young, Ezra Cleveland, Montez Sweat, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think we mentioned on our last one, the kind of the under the radar. So
yeah, you did mention Donovan Peoples-Jones. You did mention him, Jake. And the one that surprised me was Josh Dobbs. And the thing I will say, Jake, is it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? Josh Dobbs was sitting on the bench for a while. He started for the Cardinals, and then now got traded to the Vikings because the NFL saw his value. Smart guy, can pick up a playbook and can roll with the punches, right? His jersey wasn't even in the team store at first. And so the fact that he was able to overcome adversity, right? Kyler Murray's coming back. So he has to go somewhere else now. And so the fact that he found a home at the Vikings is really cool to see. Good for football.
No, I absolutely agree. And, it just goes to show you that you don't know what you don't know. And there's no way that, I'm sure the Vikings thought going into Sunday morning that they'd be trading for a quarterback. I don't think that they thought Kirk Cousins was going to tear his Achilles, but that's the way the league goes. You don't know what's going to happen. You can never predict what's going to happen. With that said, here are some trades that we would have loved to see happen. Not just see happen, but they should have happened. Cam, well, come on, man! We should have had a more active trade deadline.
In the chat. Josh Jacobs to Baltimore. We actually might have something to talk about with that one, Jake. I'm excited to get to that one.
Yeah. So let's talk. The Jets actually report came out. The Jets were trying to acquire Devontae Adams and Mike Evans, and they were trying hard to acquire them both. Neither team wanted to trade them. Isn't that funny? When push comes to shove, all of a sudden these guys aren't available. So you really find out around the trade deadline, what is true and what is fiction. And it's like when they want to come out and they want to say, oh yeah, we're trading this guy away. And then as soon as, you show them the money, you show them the assets. All right, I'm willing to give you this for him. And they balk. Kind of goes to show you were never going to trade him to begin with, right?
Yeah, it's the coaches speak, right? We had Dr. Chow on the show, or I believe a Rams show recently, and he talked about that. As coaches speak, it's chess, not checkers, Jake. You can't really show your hand, when it comes to this stuff. And there's teams that get the good end of trades and teams that get the bad end of trades, Jake. And we do know this for the Rams. They've had a tough time in the trade game, as the past couple of years. But it's been really cool to see some things happen this year. Jake, I want to ask you this. When it comes to some of these big-time receivers, why do teams balk so much? What does that look like? Because it seems like the big-time receivers are the asset that they like to balk with. So why is that?
I mean, I think
I was hearing Justin Jefferson at one point, you're hearing, and it's like, you wouldn't trade him forever. I mean,
I think it's just seeing what you could get. I think it's good to know the value, but just knowing that Devontae Adams is what is going to put butts in the seats when you're not a good football team, it's hard to trade somebody like that. So let's stick with the Jets here. Our first trade that should have happened, the Jets should have acquired Devontae Adams. Okay. The Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. They fired Brad Ziegler. Or I might have butchered that name, but Ziegler, the GM, they fired the offensive coordinator. Okay. They're just getting rid of, cleaning house. I don't know why they kept Jimmy Garoppolo if they're going to bench him. And I don't know why they keep Devontae Adams there. Really feels like they need kind of a reset. And I don't know if Adams makes any sense because he went there kind of feeling like, okay, this is what's going to happen is that Aaron Rodgers is on his way out of Green Bay. So I'm either going to go where Aaron goes or you're going to trade me and I'm going to go play with my guy from Fresno State in Derek Carr. Now, neither of those things can be true. And to me, the best case scenario here, the most obvious scenario is that Devontae Adams is going to end up with the Jets next year. But I think the Jets should have gotten this thing done. I think the Raiders should have just traded him. So that's the first thing I'll start with. Aaron Rodgers, we already know, is coming back this year. We don't know when. The Jets are 4-3. They're very much in the thick of it. Have an elite defense. And, just imagine, I understand Zach Wilson isn't exactly the best, right? But having Devontae Adams, things could be a little bit different right now.
Things could be a lot different, Jake. And I want to caveat this before we jump into some of these trades. Jake, before the trade deadline, October 31st at 4 p.m. Eastern, this past weekend, I saw teams and players ball out because it felt like, Jake, that they knew that their butt was about to get traded. And so, right, you think about just the Titans, you think about some of the Broncos, right, beating the Chiefs. And I saw it reminded me of preseason, Jake. It reminds me of, hey, if you're an undrafted guy, you're trying to make the football team, play your heart out week 4 or really week 3 now to make the football team. And now, you kind of go into the psychology of getting traded. And some of these players, think about Kevin Byard, Jake, right? From the Titans is a all-pro safety and going to the Eagles. Well, it's a great opportunity for him, but what about his family? What about his kids? And so you got to think about this process, Jake, because a lot of guys hear that they're on the trading block, but they may not want to be traded. And so you could see the spike in their gameplay. So it's been really cool to see. I know we talked about the Jets acquiring Devontae Adams. One person I thought, Jake, was D-Hop, right? We talk about some of these coaches doing the coaches speak, but D-Hop, I thought it would be really cool. Maybe, the Packers or something like that. I know Devontae Adams is not the Packers anymore, but having another threat would be really cool to help out that run games. I know they're struggling a little bit in that run game there, but Devontae Adams going to the Jets, Garrett Wilson, that would be fireworks. I mean, the running backs are already crushing it right now. They got CJ Uzomah at the tight end position. It'd be really cool to see Devontae Adams go to the Jets and see them make a run, Jake, because they're finally starting to move things along a little bit. The defense is clicking. And so, hey, why not give them some more firepower?
And I see there are a lot of people in the comment section talking about our next team, the Baltimore Ravens. And I see there's people that wanted a running back. We saw Josh Jacobs earlier. I see Devontae. I actually kind of feel differently. I think they should have gone after a pass rusher. Okay. Really, right now, the only rush that they're getting is out of the interior and is Jadeveon Clowney. And I feel like it would have made a lot of sense for them to go out and get Danielle Hunter. I don't know if the Vikings would have done the trade. Personally, I don't know if he's going to be back, and I think it would have made sense, especially post Kirk Cousins' torn Achilles. I don't necessarily fault them, but the Ravens should have gotten at least somebody to rush the passer here. They are one of the better teams in football. They could be undefeated right now. They are really that close. And so when you think about it, getting another pass rusher opposite Jadeveon Clowney, who's done a nice job in stopping the run as well, would have made a lot of sense. Danielle Hunter's one of the best in the league this year. If not him, Brian Burns. If not him, Chase Young. I think the Ravens kind of dropped the ball because I think, last year they went out and, they get the linebacker from Chicago, Roquan Smith. But I feel like they kind of looked at, oh, yeah, last year we did something. We don't need to do it this year. And I'm looking at this team like, tell me this team isn't maybe a pass rusher away from being the Super Bowl favorite. I mean,
yeah,
I would have made a move.
Yeah, I mean, I know they pay Lamar Jackson a whole lot of money, right? And so who knows what cap hit that would have taken. But Carl Lawson, I know we talked about him last week, Jake, the under the radar trade, but Carl Lawson coming out of the Jets. I mean, they have such a deep defensive line. I mean, I'm looking at their depth chart now, Jake, and it's kind of ridiculous. So for Carl to step in, and I mean, he's a third stringer right behind Will and Jermaine Johnson. So why not add Carl Lawson to that mix there? We talked about him. He's healthy. He can jump in and play right away. I think that's important. And you think about the Ravens football team, you got to get Lamar Jackson the football back. Full stop. Give Lamar Jackson the football back. Make sure the running game is good to go, right? So Lamar's not running all day. But I do think, I see somebody jumped in here and says, be more could have traded for Chase or Montez Sweat.
Montez as well, yeah.
Montez Sweat, and I do like the Bears move to get Montez Sweat because they need another pass rusher, right? They need somebody to help out and figure things out on the defensive end. But the Ravens, Carl Lawson, I would love to see it.
Well, so that's the thing, Cam, is I'm not like I'm a little confused why the 49ers went out and got another edge defender, instead of going out and getting a corner, which I think they actually tried to do. They tried to get from the Giants. Oh my God. I totally forgot the guy's name from USC.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So they went out and tried to get a corner, and there was, rumors about them being interested in one of the guys that we'll bring up in a little bit, Jalen Johnson. I didn't understand. It kind of puts into perspective here how kind of silly this whole thing is. I mean, Seahawks go out and get a defensive lineman when they're already really stout up front defensive line. The Bears go out and get Montez Sweat, a team that has 2 wins. Why are the Bears going out and buying now and not the Ravens? That's the thing that confuses me, if anything. Like the Lions getting Donovan Peoples-Jones. I like that move. The Lions, they are a fringe Super Bowl contender. If not, they are the Super Bowl contender. Rasul Douglas to the Bills made a lot of sense. The Bills, they're trying to win the Adoree Jackson. Thank you so much, chat. Truly being 22. I just name escaped me. The Packers are not a Super Bowl contender, so trading away Rasul Douglas made sense. The Cardinals are not a contender, trading away Josh Dobbs to a Vikings team that's trying to compete while also still, they don't have Kirk Cousins, but they weren't going to go out and get like a marquee, pickup. Josh Dobbs is fine. Jacksonville, right? 2 losses. They go out and get Ezra Cleveland to bolster their interior, like we talked about.
Protect your quarterback.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. I guess that's the thing that's so confusing is that the Ravens didn't get better, but the Bears went out and gave up a 2nd rounder for a pass rusher who is in an expiring deal. And the Bears have shown no sign that they can they can close the deal on these guys. I mean, they let Roquan go. We hear Jalen Johnson, they're not going to bring back. I mean, it's just so weird right now that the Ravens didn't make a move.
It's weird in the Harbaugh family right now, Jake. It's a lot going on. Not to take shots, but there is a lot going on, Jake. So I know that's more front office, right? And what the GM, what are they doing? But I would have to say, right, if your last name is circulating in the news, I could imagine you might be a little distracted, right? If you're trying to win football games, trade deadlines coming up, you got your team. You're like at some point, maybe your bandwidth's like, all right, I'm gonna roll with what I have. I have my cards. I have my cards that are dealt. I'm gonna roll with what I have and see what happens. So I think that's important, Jake, to think. And like you said, you don't know what these coaches are thinking. What's on the market may not make sense for him. So, hey, but like I said, his last name is circulating right now. So he might be like, you know what? Let's do what we got and let's go win a championship. So who knows?
I'll tell you right now, I was a little surprised the Chargers didn't go out and get another weapon for Justin Herbert. Another weapon after losing Mike Williams for the season. After seeing Quentin Johnston doesn't really look like the first rounder you were hoping he'd be. But it's early, right? Like, obviously, long term, we like Quentin Johnston. He's just right now, if you're trying to compete, you got 3 wins.
He had a nice back shoulder catch. But that was about it.
Did. Yeah, he did. I mean, we've kind of been all over this. I mean, I brought up Curtis Samuel last week to try to keep things fresh, but I mean, we've all been over this. Hollywood Brown made too much sense to go to Hollywood. I mean, it made way too much sense. You need that explosive guy. You probably should have drafted Zay Flowers. Hollywood Brown would have diversified the receiver room perfectly, would have been a perfect target. And they didn't do anything. So Hollywood Brown staying with the Cardinals, which is a little weird. But
how we feel about Jerry Jeudy though, Jake? I mean, I know with the whole thing with Steve Smith, and I know that
kind of turned me away, man. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, like, is that attractive for your team? Like, do you want that type of personality on your team? Yeah, I see that. I know Sean Payton went out and said we're not really getting rid of our guys like that, and so he might be in that same mentality, Jake, where all eyes are on him, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna bet on these guys that are in this room. I just beat the Chiefs, so I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give up my guys. Yeah.
When they beat the Chiefs, even though Patrick Mahomes had the flu, that's still an impressive win. You got to give them respect. They are now 3-5. They're still in the thick of it. 3-5, you are not out. 2-6, you kind of start to feel out. 1-7, you are out. 0-8.
Gabe, plan your vacations. Like, guys, get ready to tell your wives to plan the vacation. Wives and family plan the vacation. We want to go to Disney, going to go fishing. Get it going now.
And I see in the comment section, C Bomber would have liked to see Chiefs get a receiver. Yeah, it is weird. They seem so fine with their receiver room, and I don't really know why. I
Is
mean,
it Miko Harmon? Who did they just
they
re-sign?
brought in Mecole Hardman, but they didn't use him when he was there the first time. So it's not like I'm
Yeah.
sitting here like, yeah, they got Mecole Hardman. Like Rashee Rice is somebody I really like, but I don't know. It's kind of an ugly looking offense. Like it works and they score a lot of points, but it's not like you don't get a Justin Jefferson here and a Jordan Addison here. It's like it's basically Travis Kelce and then a few guys that can pop off every now and then. But it's kind of ugly the way they do it. Like Jerick McKinnon, no 100-yard rusher. Sometimes no Jerick McKinnon. Justin Watson's injured, but then he was like their leading receiver at one point. It's ugly, man. It's not like a 1, 2, 3 receiver. It's like, who is the number one receiver? I don't know. I mean, it really depends.
My thing is, what's the effect of Eric Bieniemy leaving? Things aren't going well in Washington, right? But what are those effects? Mecole Hardman was there when Bieniemy was there. He's not there anymore. So is Mecole like, oh, Hardman, is he like, oh, I'm going back because Bieniemy's gone? Like, I'm curious, what is that, right, going on in the locker room? One thing I do realize, Jake, and everyone's had it. Everyone in this chat's probably had it. A tough boss. What does that look like? A tough boss. And so, maybe Bieniemy was tough on Hardman. Who knows? But they have a chance. It is the Chiefs, Jake. I know they didn't really look good against the Broncos. It's any given Sunday, but Jake, I do think that if they're getting their guys back, right? Like think about Randall Cobb going to the Jets to be with Aaron Rodgers. If you're getting your guys, if Patrick Mahomes likes him, let's trust it. Let's trust Patrick Mahomes. That's what I would say. So.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think, Sky Moore, Marquez Valdez. I mean, this is easily the worst receiver room in the league. I mean, easily.
Think about like Tom Brady. Tom Brady, when he played the Rams back in the day, he had like Julian Edelman, he had Chris Hogan, I think, but he didn't really have a full arsenal.
Edelman, Welker, Amendola, those guys were better. Sky Moore and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I don't know. I think it's just more so Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. They don't feel like they need to. I mean, they won a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. So, I think it's really, if Travis Kelce goes down, then it becomes an issue. But I think it's all based around Travis Kelce. But I also think Rashee Rice needs to get more targets. Like, I think he's the best receiver on that team. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling is just a deep threat clear-out guy. Sky Moore has really struggled, in my opinion. Nowhere near as good as they thought he would be, and that's a second rounder. It is his second year, to be fair.
He's young.
Kadarius Toney, we gotta stop with the Kadarius Toney thing. He's not we're not making Kadarius Toney a thing at this point. Like he's just he is what he is. And
Jake, I think he'll show up. I think he'll show up at some point. Jake, he has to show up.
I mean, he'll show up at some point, but not before he drops a bunch of passes. And I don't know. I think brutal. This Chiefs receiver room is just kind of eh. If you did have Patrick Mahomes, it would be putrid. But
yeah, you're right, Jake. Really quick. I know Halloween was recently, Jake. Let's just take a pause on this. Halloween was recently. I know the Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers played. How about all the Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift Halloween costumes in the stadium? It was mind blowing to me. I know Taylor Swift has been the talk of the town. Even the broadcasters didn't even mention her name, but the fact that they were actually Halloween costumes. It's kind of insane, man. What's going on? What's going on here?
I don't know, man. Halloween costumes are normally based around pop culture, so I guess it does make a lot of sense there. Sticking with football,
moving on.
Well, I'm not trying to get everyone to leave because you know how I don't want to hear about Taylor Swift. Okay, so with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they came really close to acquiring Jalen Johnson. They couldn't get it done before the deadline. The Bears decided to hang on to him. That should have happened. The Steelers right now are rocking Levi Wallace on the outside with Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson looked incredible last year. He set the clock back. He was great. This year he looks like, well, the clock set him back. And, it's not good. And then you look at Levi Wallace and guy has great feet, but I mean, good Lord, he's getting absolutely toasted, left and right. So then you look at, JPJ, Joey Porter Jr., and you see the long-term implications of having him as a corner and, the physicality he provides and how great he's going to be long-term, hopefully. And you go out and you get a Jalen Johnson who's like, what, 24, 25 years old. And now you have that tandem with Minka Fitzpatrick, with Alex Highsmith, with TJ Watt, with Cam
Ooh.
Hayward. And now you're cooking with gas. And so
Yeah.
I feel like they really kind of, I don't want to say they dropped the ball. I don't know what the Bears are doing. I've given Ryan Poles credit, but I don't know how much more credit I can give him when he continues to just kind of lead us astray. I mean, what are the Bears doing? We don't even know what their game plan is. So I really was hoping the Steelers could get this thing done. I think it would have made a lot of sense for them getting Jalen Johnson on the outside. And I actually see, our boat was saying I wanted the Chargers to get Jalen Johnson. Yeah, I mean, he's, top 10 corner in this league right now. I mean, he's really, really good, and he's so young, and it's exactly what you look for. I think everyone focused so much on Patrick Surtain, which, by the way, was never an option. You're not going to trade an elite corner like that at that age. I mean, I think he's younger than Jalen Ramsey was when he was traded from Jacksonville, and that was kind of crazy circumstances. So I just think looking at this, Cam, Jalen Johnson's one of the better corners in football. He's at a premium age. He's going to get paid. Don't get me wrong, but I think the Steelers definitely were going to pay that, and that's why they tried to get this thing done. There were other teams involved. I know the Bills were interested, the Ravens were interested, and I believe the 49ers were also interested, but nothing came of it. The Bears, I guess they're going to lose Jalen Johnson in the offseason.
Yep. I mean, I know someone, our boat just hopped in the chat and said Jalen Johnson to the Chargers. I'll say this. I know Jalen Johnson requested a trade. Ryan Poles is trying to figure it out. He's trying to figure it out, right? He's reaching right now. He's reaching. One thing I will say, though, it seems like he's trying to bolster that defense, right? You got Montez Sweat. You still got Jalen Johnson back there. That means if you got Montez Sweat applying pressure, then it means Jalen Johnson will be more successful. So maybe he's telling Jalen, hey, stick around with us for a little bit, see if we can turn this around. We know when it comes to Justin Fields, he's hurt right now. So we need as much as we can on this defense. For the Bears, the quarterback position, right? I know they're working with Bagent, backup quarterback D2. It's cool and all, but that's not going to last too long, Jake. So I do think they need to firm up that defense, see what that looks like. Hey, have Jalen sit on that team and kind of see how things go there. That's important. But going back to the Steelers, Jake, I think we talk about Pat P. Pat P was playing when I was playing. He was playing a punt returner. He was doing a lot. And I think when he went against Brandon Ayuk, the 49ers, and Brock Purdy, I think he got exposed in that game. I think Brandon had 2 touchdowns on him, and it was kind of embarrassing. I think that was a moment for us to see that, hey, the ship might have sailed for Patrick Peterson. So, the Steelers getting him, that would have been a great pickup. I agree with you, Jake, on that one. But at this moment, I think the Bears are trying to survive. They're trying to survive right now. They're trying to figure it out in their survival mode. So, hey, Jalen Johnson, you have to wait till the end of the year to figure this out.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like there's much of a direction there. Like to go out and get Montez Sweat and then also like Jalen Johnson. Maybe Jalen Johnson requested a trade and they didn't want to trade him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to pay your players at some point. You let Roquan Smith go. He said he wanted to retire a Bear, and then he ends up on the Ravens like a week later. Thoughts on Brandon Staley from Sea Bomber? I think he's a great defensive coordinator. We saw him lead the Rams to the greatest defensive team in their history. They were number 1 in defense, but I just don't think he's a head coach. I'm just going to be honest with you. Just to answer that question, I just don't think he's a head coach. I don't think he has what it takes to make the right decisions at the right times. I don't think it was a fluke thing that they missed the playoffs in the most ridiculous way. Because it was a tie and they lost the tiebreaker. I mean, that's on Brandon Staley. I think he's had too many mishaps late in games, and that's just who he is. And unfortunately, it sucks, but I mean, we see Steve Spagnuolo. He's still making it as a defensive coordinator in this league with the Chiefs. He'll probably never get a head coaching job again. He's not a head coach. It's okay.
Yeah, even like quarterbacks, right? You think about Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs, this might be his role, right? Where he's a great backup quarterback to fill in for some of these starting quarterbacks. And so I think that's important to think about. For me, even when I was playing football at Syracuse, right? Doug Marrone was our head coach. We had Scott Schaefer become our head coach. And it's like, hey, Scott, you need to probably move back to that defensive coordinator spot because you're a lot better than that, Jake. And so I totally agree. Sometimes a fit is not a fit. You think about Josh McDaniels. he's going to have to figure it out. He may not be a great head coach. He's going to have to be a position coach and just stick to his guns there. I think that's really important. Jake, what I'm curious about, Jake, is I know for the Bills, the defense, Sean McDermott is calling those plays, right? At some point, does he want to give up play calling? What does that look like? And so I think about the Chargers. I think about that question right on Brandon Staley. Could that be a fit for him, right? Will that get the Bills over the hump? But Sean McDermott's doing a great job as of now, but I can see, defensive coordinator stepping in that position and helping the Bills out a little bit.
I don't know if I could see that, Cam, because they had Leslie Frazier, and as soon as Leslie was out, he's like, I'm calling the plays. I'm the captain of the ship. I think a lot of these guys want to have that, that ownership still. And that's the thing is like, I just don't think and people will crucify me for saying this, but I think Raheem Morris would be a perfect fit for the Chargers. And he's somebody that's won more games than Brandon Staley has at any point in his career. So I think, people forget about the 10, 11 win team that the Buccaneers had with Josh Freeman. Yeah, that was Raheem Morris. It was a while ago. That's the last time he got a job, and he was scapegoated in his second season. He had
Brian Flores. At some point, I want to see Brian Flores get another opportunity, Jake. I know the Vikings can turn things around a little bit on that defense. He's blitzing his head off. So I would like to see him get a position to an opportunity at the head coaching level.
And we could also see an offensive minded coach. I think that's kind of where the league is trending. So it could be like a Ben Johnson. I think Raheem Morris has done an outstanding job with the Rams, and he definitely deserves it.
Thomas Brown.
Yeah.
Got the game ball for the Panthers recently, so that was really cool to see.
Well, we said to pass the sticks to Thomas Brown, and they actually do that, and they win a game immediately. So it's funny how that works. Moving on, we have a running back here. Okay. So Josh Jacobs, I feel like he was never really brought up, but you know what should have happened? Josh Jacobs should have gone to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are truly missing a running back to first off, Baker Mayfield can play the game manager role, and he's not against it, but he can also help you win games, and he's come back in games where they shouldn't have even been in, and it's because Rachaad White's a really good two, and he's a really good scat back, but he's not a go-to bell cow. So because of that, they don't have anyone they feel like, all right, hey, you take 20 to 25 carries a game. Josh Jacobs is that guy. And so I think Josh Jacobs, would have been great for the Buccaneers because they would have been able to manage the clock. Defense has played well this year, and it would have kept all that pressure off of Baker Mayfield. Because I think if you run the ball, you set up play action. We know Baker works well at play action. You got deep threats all over the board. Trey Palmer, obviously Chris Godwin, and obviously Mike Evans. I just have not been a fan of the Buccaneers running back room. I've been saying it constantly, man. Again, I know you like Sean Tucker. I'm not trying to hate on Sean, but it's just like there's no diversity there. They're all kind of the same.
I mean, Leonard Fournette, I think, was the best example that the Buccaneers need in the backfield. I think Josh Jacobs is the best example of that. I know we were reaching, right? We were like, hey, Derrick Henry, go into the Buccaneers. I play for the Buccaneers, so I'm like, let's make this happen. I do like Josh Jacobs at the Buccaneers. You get that power, you get that breakaway speed, and they need that right now. That's what they need. I know the Buccaneers, they're struggling a little bit, Jake. I know they're doing well, but they're struggling a little bit. And so they got to figure things out, and it's the run game full stop. Mike Evans, if he does not get the football more, Jake, he's going to lead that football team. I know he scored. So last game, I think he didn't have any catches in the second half. He had a touchdown finally towards the end of the game, but by that time, the game was almost over. So the Buccaneers have to figure it out. I know when Tom Brady was there, they figured it out, right? They struggled at the beginning of the season, and Tom Brady took over and figured it out. But this year, I don't know if Baker has that in him. I don't know if he has that Tom Brady juice where he can just flip the whole season. So they're going to need help from the front office. Those guys are going to have to earn their paychecks, or they're going to lose Mike Evans. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have even, minded them bringing back Fournette. I just think they need more of a power, hey, I can take 20 carries a game type of guy, and they just don't have that. And so I think that's hurting them. And they know they don't have that. It's why even though Rachaad, White was running well against the Bills, they stopped turning him loose. And so then all of a sudden, you get down in that game and you're able to come back a little bit, make it look presentable, but I mean, that game, I mean, you could have won that game if you managed it better. Last one here, and actually before we get into the last one, I see Damalama, Giants made out tremendously, but grabbing a second for Leonard Williams last year deal. They grabbed an additional 2025 fifth. I think it was a steal and then some. I agree. I wanted to say that. Yes, okay, Seattle gets the big name. Leonard Williams is not the guy that the Jets traded away. Okay, I'm just going to say it right now. He's not that guy anymore. He's not a bad player, but second and a fifth is absolute fleece job from the Giants. Great move by Shane there. I think he's made a bunch of really good moves. I know he's going to get a lot of blame and hate for the Daniel Jones thing. Daniel Jones with an offensive line, we know can play in this league. He might not be a high quality quarterback, but he's solid. You can win with him. And really just this year, nothing has gone right for the Giants. Everybody's hurt. They're starting
new backup.
Yeah, they're starting all sorts of guys all over their offensive line. They brought Justin Pugh right off his couch. I mean,
great
that's
marketing.
where they're at
Great
right
marketing.
now. Yeah, that was great.
Tommy DeVito, Syracuse guy, and Tommy DeVito being at Syracuse, I watched him play. I don't know if he belongs to the Jets right now. He has a lot of growing up to do. And Jake, we're seeing here again. I feel like a broken record. Quarterback is currency. And so we talked about this.
Barkley.
Okay, there you go.
Where they're at right now. I mean,
right. I mean, come on, fam. But at the end of the day, these teams have to make sure that they are 2 to 3 deep at the quarterback position. If your backup goes on IR, hey, make sure you get another one, man, or whatever it is. But it's really important, Jake, because you end up with Tommy DeVito to run your organization. And I love Tommy. I love Syracuse Orange, but that's not what the Giants want. Dable can't afford that, Jake. He can't afford that.
No, and I like that you brought up the quarterback because now we can segue into our last trade that should have happened. Kyler Murray to the Atlanta Falcons. Cardinals, just get it started. We know you're tanking for a quarterback, or at least you're about to. That we know that's what's probably going to happen.
Yeah,
just trade Kyler Murray. I mean, why did you not just trade Kyler Murray? The Falcons right now have just benched Desmond Ridder. He is not going to play. It's going to be Taylor Heineke. I know you like Taylor. Kyler's astronomically better than Taylor Heineke. So I think they should have thrown caution in the wind, tried to, I mean, we know Kyler Murray can be a really good quarterback in this league if you protect him and give him weapons. What do you think the Falcons do? They protect the quarterback and give their quarterback plenty of weapons. I mean, you talk about, Pitts and London and, they went out and got Van Jefferson. It's like they have plenty of weapons. That's not the issue. The running backs are great. It's a very plus scenario for any quarterback to go to the Falcons because they have everything for you. The defense looks
offensive
good.
line too.
The offensive line, we did a ranking before the season. They were in our top 10, both of us. So
run game, pass game, Matthew Bergeron coming in. Like, come on, fam. They got Hall of Famers on the offensive line there.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like they got so much talent, and it's really just they are truly a quarterback away. I know like the offensive line hasn't played up to the standards we thought, but they're very talented. They'll get there. And I also have to say, like, the offensive line hasn't been as bad. I think the problem is Desmond Ridder holds on the ball longer than just about anybody in the league. And it's led to sacks. It's led to the pressures getting there. But that's where the offensive line stats can kind of get a little misleading. And so I look at Kyler Murray, even if the offensive line did struggle, you have that mobility factor. Kyler can get out of the pocket. He knows how to throw, with those throwing lanes. He knows how to set things up because he is a smaller quarterback. It's hard for him to see over the line. So he does a nice job by playing the passing lanes well. And, it allows him to see the field. I have issues with Kyler. Okay. Call of Duty season for one. It's out there, man. It's pretty obvious. Watching film, but I like
Ace
Kyler.
Clan, bro.
Exactly. But I like Kyler. I mean, he's got plenty of weapons here if he were to go into this situation. And I'll just say this right now. I'm really closely monitoring next year with Kirk Cousins, because I'll tell you right now, if Kirk Cousins isn't back with the Vikings, the Falcons are a perfect fit for him as well.
Yep, I agree. And Jake, I want to say this too. Talk about the backup quarterback position. Ryan Tannehill, what is that going to look like? Because Will Levis was throwing those bombs, my guy. The Titans seemed like they picked the right quarterback. Mayo
Mayonnaise,
boy.
man.
Mayonnaise, man. And Jake, it surprised me. I'm not going to lie. It surprised me the way he was throwing that football, the way he was performing. So
Ryan, it surprised everyone, Cam. I mean, come on, no one thought like did you scratch if you have it on your bingo card, scratch off Mayo Man throwing 4 touchdowns in his debut.
I mean,
against this Falcons defense has looked really good and has just bullied young quarterbacks.
Yep. Insane. A great performance by him. Job well done, because he's getting a lot of smoke, Jake, from us. He's getting a lot of smoke from us, so job well done. But my thing is, Ryan Tannehill, where does he go? Who does he back up next? I'm looking at the Rams, Jake, because as you know, we see what's going on now. They need a backup. What does that look like? So if I'm the Rams, I'm looking to see, hey, how can we get Ryan Tannehill? How can we get a great quarterback? Even you think about Teddy Bridgewater, where is he at? How can we look to get him, right? I know he's sitting on the bench somewhere, but how can we look to get him? But figuring out how to get some of these quarterbacks that are going to get replaced by some of these rookies is important.
You know, there's a continuity error when it comes to Washington. They trade away 2 young pass rushers, but they didn't trade away Jacoby Brissett. I don't like, what are we doing here? Like that because you were talking about Ryan Tannehill, and personally, I don't know if this guy even has anything left in the tank. I'm not very high on Ryan Tannehill right now. Sad, but I think he's had too many injuries. I don't think he would be, that successful. But I don't know. I look at Jacoby Brissett and I'm like, how did that guy not get picked up at the deadline? I agree. It's bizarre to me how many of these guys that were like perfect trades. I mean, if the Raiders were going to bench Jimmy Garoppolo, why wouldn't they have traded it? Like, if you're benching Jimmy Garoppolo for Aiden O'Connell, who, by the way, we're very happy about. We like Aiden O'Connell. He's our guy.
Yeah.
But it makes no sense to be paying Jimmy Garoppolo all this money to just sit there and be a paperweight, essentially.
It's a business move, Jake. All the moms want to see Jimmy G in his uniform when they go to the game. So they got a lot to work on, bro. That's why the GM has been fired. The coach has been fired. They made a lot of mishaps, and I do think the straw that broke the camel's back was the Chandler Jones situation. I don't know if they handled that correctly, and I think just things started to deteriorate internally. They weren't winning games. Josh McDaniels isn't a great coach, but they didn't handle that right, and I don't know if it sat right with the football world, Jake. Chandler's a Syracuse guy. See him on social media doing like different things. It's like, wait, what happened here? What the hell happened? So to see Josh get fired after that, I'm like, okay, clearly things aren't going well over there. So they got a lot of work on.
I mean, I don't know how true this is, but it said like The Athletic. I don't know if they put it. I saw it quickly on Twitter before we went live. It had something to do with Josh McDaniels dressed up as Mark Davis for Halloween. And Mark Davis fired him because of it or something. Like,
no way. Please don't make that up, Jake. Please don't make that up. Please tell me that's not true.
I saw it on Twitter, and like it was one of the accounts, like it was an excerpt of the article, and I was like, there's no way. You
can't troll your boss like that. That's kind of wild. But hey, bro, it's Vegas. Who knows what's going on over there? But I do.
Who knows?
What I will say is, I know Mark Davis. Al Davis was a Syracuse guy, so I got to throw that in there. But I am praying for Josh McDaniels. I know we've been saying he's not a great coach and everything like that, but at the end of the day, he's a human. He's a man. He has a family. And Mark Davis did say that. I wish the best for him and his family. I think that's really important, because for people in this chat, he could be on your team. He could be your position coach. So just be conscious. Be conscious of how you treat him, because, hey, he could be running your organization pretty soon. If he takes you to a Super Bowl at some point, then you'll be praising his name. So I'm praying for him and his family, but he does not belong at the Raiders right now.
I'll say this, Cam. The Raiders are paying John Gruden. They're paying Ziegler. They're paying Mike Mayock. And now they're paying Josh McDaniels all of this money to not coach and GM on their team.
Let me start coaching and sign up for the Raiders. I know I'm going to get paid. I don't have to do a great job, but I know I'm going to get paid. So.
I mean, that's basically it, man, is that a lot of people forget these firings aren't really that bad, because they're getting paid millions of dollars and they are still owed that money. So
Yeah.
it's not like getting fired from your full-time job as a blue collar worker. You get fired as a head coach, you're still making millions of dollars to not work. That's the dream for most people.
To go play golf, and it's cool. Antonio Pierce is the linebacker coach. He's a former player. He's now the interim head coach, which is really cool, Jake. He actually played in Long Beach Poly in California. He played underneath my dad. So my dad was playing linebacker, and then Antonio came up underneath him. So I sent it to the chat immediately. I was like, hey, it's unfortunate for the Raiders community or fortunate that Josh McDaniels got fired, but it's really cool to see another coach get an opportunity. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, he's an interim head coach. He's going to get his first chance against the team that he was famous playing for, the New York Giants. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Arizona State fans don't love him, but we won't get into that.
Yeah, there's a lawsuit going on right now. I think that's why he's not considered as the head coach immediately, because they have to, I think, handle that legal stuff in the background. So I have to actually Google the Arizona State's issues and what's going on there. But it's a little sticky.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like they just kicked him out and let everyone else stay in. So I don't know. I don't know too much about it. I just know that people were upset that he got the job. And personally, I like seeing these linebacker coaches get some love. I wish Gerard Mayo would get some love. I don't know. I mean, we saw
D'Amico is crushing it right now.
D'Amico's crushing it. I don't know. Maybe it's just because, after a while hosting a show with a linebacker in the NFL, and you respect the position a little bit more. But no, all jokes aside, though, cool thing for him, regardless of how you feel about his Arizona State thing, which I can't really speak too much on. But it's still cool for Antonio Pierce to get that opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. Rich Bisaccia had the opportunity, and he's now the special teams coordinator for the Packers. I thought he did a really good job with the Raiders. It kind of goes to show you they probably should have just kept Rich Bisaccia to begin with. But, he's the one who got the last laugh, it looks like there. But, yeah, I think that's going to do it, Cam. For those of you who missed it, our trades, Jets acquired Devontae Adams was a trade that should have happened. Ravens should have acquired Danielle Hunter. Chargers should have acquired Hollywood Brown. Steelers should have acquired Jalen Johnson. Buccaneers should have added Josh Jacobs. And the Falcons should have gone out and gotten Kyler Murray, because they are truly a quarterback away from being a problem. So that's what I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Man, it's been fun. We love doing these. We appreciate Bleach Report for having us as always. We appreciate you guys for your comments and constant engagement in the chat, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Take care, folks.